Follow me, you could about to go. I'm doing 500, I'm out of control. But there's nowhere to go, and there's no way to slow. If I knew what I knew in the past, I would have been blacked out on your.
A progression system of some kind has been the staple of role-playing games since their very inception and have been included in many other genres since. If you somehow missed all of them, the basic premise is simple. As you do stuff, you get a resource, usually called experience. Once you get enough experience, you level up, letting you do stuff better, be it through unlocking new options or just straight up making a number go big. It's a great system that makes progression through the game directly tied to making you feel more powerful and expanding your capabilities as a character. It feels good to see the numbers grow and know your playtime is rewarded with something. So, why do so many of this system feel so wrong? To me at least. To uncover this mystery, I think it's important to first discuss why such a system was created in the first place. And just like all roads lead to Rome, all discussion of RPGs lead to Dungeons and Dragons. In that game, experience and levels are an abstract way of portraying how far your character got. Level 1 serves as a sort of a baseline for what people are capable of. An average person you meet on the street is probably a level 1 blacksmith or whatever. As you gain experience, you get more levels and go from a random schmuck to a mythical hero to a deity. So if you are level 10 and a dragon is a level 10 creature, you could say the two of you are on the same level. Get it? Related to that are two other things. One, the D&D bestiary is incredibly diverse and spread out across all the levels. You won't find a level 20 goblin beating the shit out of some deity unless, of course, said goblin is a major character in the story. 2, it's a team game. Even when you're a flipping deity, the system doesn't expect you to carry the whole weight alone and solo all obstacles you come across. One bad willpower saving roll can incapacitate you, even if you have enough strength to flip mountains in your spare time. But it's okay, your party members will save your ass. And you will save their asses some other day. And these are the three aspects in which many automated leveling systems fail. Not having a relatable baseline, not making you feel like a number increasing with the level changes anything regarding how your character relates to the world, and not accounting for the way the game is played. Let's go through them in that order and discuss examples, both negative and positive. For there is no rule that cannot be broken if it's done with enough purpose and knowledge. But as people far smarter than me said, you need to know what you're twisting and breaking before committing to it. 1. No baseline. Hey, have any of you played Arcanum? You know, the Troika isometric RPG about steampunk fantasy where you can be a necromancer killing NPCs to question their ghosts or carry around an elephant rifle that shoots swords. Cause you can only do that in the late game. You start the game as a total schmuck with no skills, no stats and no chance of survival. Look at this character sheet. All your baseline attributes give you penalties, and you have merely 5 points to spare. Am I to believe that this ugly, weak idiot that knows nothing is supposed to be an average human being? Or is he below the average? Why do I only get to be a reasonably competent person at around level 10? Why do I have to choose between being a goddamn idiot skilled in my craft or a reasonably intelligent person that knows nothing? This really bothers me because it gives you no frame of reference to what to expect from other beings in that setting. Are people on the street of Tarant dumb, ugly and weak? They kick my ass if I start some shit, so probably not. Not to mention, this kind of setback is generally unnecessary. The game doesn't frame your story as some kind of zero to hero, nor does it try to present an oppressive world that will punch your teeth in for looking at something the wrong way. It's just baffling how you keep critically missing and shooting yourself in the foot as you try to fight some aggressive gremlins from the crash site at the beginning of the game. I love Arcanum, after getting level 10, or the dog. A good example of a set baseline is, ironically, the first two Fallout games, which were made by the same people as Arcanum. When you start the game and create a character, you get to see the screen of a completely generic dude or dudette. This much in skills, this much in stats, now pick what you're specialized in and what attributes are your strong and weak sides. You leave the vault or your village with instantly internalized knowledge of what you're good or bad at compared to a completely average, untrained person. A good game without a baseline is Monster Hunter. All your stats are decided by your gear and you can change it willy-nilly, provided you have it in your inventory. You have some starting armor and weapons, but you replace them instantly and never ever look at their stats again. Does it give you a good idea what a human is capable of in this game? No, But also, who cares? You exclusively fight gigantic dinosaurs and not other people. The progression goes from I can slap this big lizard to I can slap this bigger flying lizard that breathes fire. There is no need for the baseline because you never have to compare yourself to another human being in the universe, and the game designers know that. Number 2. Moving in place. I bet you know what game I'm going to talk about here. It's been a meme for so long. It's obviously a game with level scaling, like Oblivion or Skyrim, right? Where your progress only makes the world catch up to you instantly, so it never actually feels like you're getting more powerful in comparison to your surroundings. But no, for one, I have yet to play any of these games, and to talk about them would not be genuine of me. The one Elder Scrolls game I did play, Morrowind, actually handles its level scaling fairly well. Rather than edit what already exists in the world, it adds more. As you grow more powerful, you encounter stronger foes, but a cliff racer is never going to be more than a really irritating pest. It cashes in on the promise of letting you travel through the titular land, while also letting the challenge present there be well tuned to what your character is capable of. Unless you poke your nose into some Daedric ruins, but you have only yourself to blame. It is technically walking in place because the game is adjusting itself to meet your expectations, but a bit of creativity and coherent design makes it work. I have some other issues that irritate the worms that burrow deep within my brain. Like the fact that every use of a particular ability, especially combat ones after getting 100 in that skill, feels like wasted time, but that's not the point here, I just wanted to complain about it. Since I started with discussing a positive example, another great approach to this is seen in Gothic, which ironically is the polar opposite of Morrowind's design. At the start, even a single wolf is a tough challenge, and anyone with even basic knowledge on how to hold a sword properly will kick your ass. These obstacles are placed around the world with absolutely no regard for your comfort or will to explore. Want to see that corner of the magic prison? Tough shit, get good. But because of this, progression feels real. You uncover more and more of the world, and encounters that sent you running before now crumble under your sword. You generally feel the zero to hero progression thanks to the pure gameplay feedback. The story is nothing to write home about in any of these games. If the game tried to go for a level scaling system or a progression system that only makes the numbers go bigger, it would be forgotten the same week it came out. I recommend a fantastic video by RagnarRox that talks about this design principle in depth. This is quite ironic, since the game I want to cite as a negative example is beloved by many, myself included. And it was, as admitted by the devs, inspired by the Gothic series quite a lot. Witcher 3, baby. Fantastic game, not a minute of playtime wasted, atrocious RPG, like holy shit. There is never ever a sense of progression. Level 1, you whack level 1 drowners. Level 30, you whack level 30 drowners. The strength of a monster is not indicated by any traits they possess or even by a thing as simple as a palette swap. All that matters is the tiny number next to their health bar. You can't even sidestep the issue by getting really good at execution part of the game like in, say, Dark Souls, because even a difference of 4 or 5 levels will make an encounter an execution in trying to demolish a building with a dish sponge. There is some semblance of progression felt because not all monsters start from level 1. Like you won't fight a Leshen toe to toe for a long stretch of the game. But in the end it's all drowners and peasants who just happen to have a big number. There is no sense of progression or you being able to handle bigger threats with confidence. The world just feels artificial as a result too. Why do they even bother hiring Geralt to get rid of that griffon if a random town guard from Novigrad would just bonk it once and be done with it? The presence of these mechanics actively take away from the many good points that Witcher 3 has. It genuinely feels like the only reason this game is an RPG is because that is the one genre that can get away with length in the hundreds of hours and being story-driven, at least in the mainstream understanding of the ill-defined, arbitrary and completely unnecessary phenomenon known as game genres. A positive example of a game where progression mechanics make you move in place but it still feels good is Undertale. The game set out to play on many typical RPG tropes and the progression mechanic is part of that. Playing the game properly, you will never get past level 1 or care about getting stronger, as the core mechanics of combat actually rely on avoiding damage for long enough to find a diplomatic solution to the problem. And if you do go all stereotypical RPG protagonist on it, it will be boring. Stabbing things never gets different, you soon grow powerful enough to one-shot everything and there is nobody to play with because you murdered everything. The numerical progression is completely meaningless and unrewarding, underlining the value of core messages of the game. Values of cooperation, talking problems through, and forgiveness for the fact that this stupid horse won't stop flexing on you. Great stuff. Number 3. Not accounting for how the game is played. This one is so prevalent that it can be easily split into two categories. The classic problem of adapting a system from another medium without much thought, and the modern one of trying to apply a progression system everywhere. The former is probably best portrayed by Planescape Torment. Again, love me that game. One of the best experiences I've ever had. Easily top 10 video games of all time. Horrible RPG. Just horrendous. Garbage. Alright, so to start off, you can only pick your attributes at the beginning of the game. You always start as a warrior because you have no memories of specialized skills, and that's like fine, I guess. You get to change into thief or mage through short questlines later. Sure, okay. If you have any experience with D&D whatsoever, you might have noticed a certain key role is missing. A cleric. You know, the healer, the linchpin holding every RPG party together and not crumbling down a spiral when a single thing goes wrong. You don't even get one in your party until halfway through the game. The previous party members you get are a fighter, a magical weeaboo warrior and a thief. So you have to rely on healing potions to survive. Especially because you can't rest fucking anywhere. Luckily, you will be drowning money anyway, because there's fucking nothing else to spend it on. Improving your weapons, armor, magical rings or other such accessories, you fuck yourself. There's tattoos for some characters, I guess, but that's about it. This is horrible because not only are you, say, completely fucked on the defense if you didn't put any points into dexterity, but it's effectively ripping away half of the system that is character creation and optimization. What used to be main rewards for fighters, getting better and better gear, is gone for the most part. What's left is watching your 2-hit chance increase, in a game where die rolls are hidden by default. Yay! Don't let yourself believe there is any character creation choice in Torment. There's not. Play a mage or enjoy not seeing a bunch of content and going through the world's most boring person's idea of what a fighter or rogue can do. Like, I get the idea that they try to steer clear of fantasy staples like sword and boarding, but this is akin to taking out the squeaking cogs out of a machine and not replacing them with anything else. You can't say you fixed the noise if you broke the entire apparatus in the process. The examples for the modern problem are so ubiquitous and depressing that I'll just save it for later. Positivity. A game that did a perfect job accounting for the way it will be played is Deus Ex. The game knows very well that you will always be going solo and that guns blazing combat is not going to be a method used by most, if any, players that pick up a fucking cyberpunk spy thriller. The levels are designed to account for use of almost all abilities you have available at all times, and XP is awarded for goal completion and exploration rather than killing. You also don't level up, rather you pay an increasing cost of experience to upgrade skills on 4 levels. This means two things. One, it incentivizes branching out and trying other stuff when you have points to spare, letting you experience more of that game's wonderful variety. 2, you will never fall into a sink of putting all your points in one skill. You upgraded it 3 times and that's it, you're done. Go spend your XP somewhere else and enjoy other aspects of that game, you nerd. This in particular is a fantastic fix to a problem you see in games with large numbers. In my experience, that would be Neverwinter Nights multiplayer. Sure, I can pretend to be a well-rounded person that spread his skill points into a variety of occasions, but if I have plus 15 to sneak, that doesn't fucking matter when everyone else who put points into spot goes full ham and gets plus 43 by the time they reach the final level. Having no skill cap or a ridiculously high skill cap only incentivized a design where characters are highly streamlined and specialized. In multiplayer games it's because of the competition, in single-player games it's because, well, we don't want people who specialize this hard to feel like they wasted their experience points, do we? It might sound weird to say that there is a positive example of not accounting for how the game is played, but there is. I suppose it's much easier to swallow if you phrase this as lack of connection between gameplay and progression system, and that was done particularly well in the new Hitman games. They nominally do have a progression system. For every mission you complete and things you do, you get XP. However, the XP does not affect what you can do during the mission, only the prep work you can do before it. More importantly, it only affects the prep for missions you already completed, not future ones. Meaning if you only play through all the missions once, the system doesn't play any role at all. It only helps you expand your options in how you approach retakes of missions to make them less monotonous and samey, especially the beginning parts of them. Great use of a progression system. A+. Let's go back to the modern problem of unfitting progression system. Cramming it in just to give players a kick of dopamine without accounting for how it fits into the balance of the game, usually completely breaking it in the process. I'd probably pressed 100 examples, so let's just go with... Nier Automata! Alright, hear me out. I love this game dearly, but the combination of character action combat and RPG progression is kind of a hot mess. Actually, scratch that, it's horrible and it's detrimental to the overall quality of the game. Automata has 3 ways of upgrading your character. Upgrading your gear, XP leveling, and chips. The former is fine, not only does it give you something to work towards with materials and exploration, but all the weapons have short stories told in parts that unlock as you upgrade them, so that's nice. The latter is also good. Upgrading your hardware makes perfect sense in the context of playing an android, and it ties to the corpse run mechanic that makes this into a pretty valuable resource. Just by themselves, these two would make a solid character progression system, one based on the material. The XP system just crashes into the middle of things and disrupts both. Like in The Witcher, everything else also has levels, and if you're not matched, it's a curb stomp on one of the sides. There is also barely any enemy variety as you keep fighting these stabby boys. It provides no sense of getting stronger or facing foes of bigger and bigger power. Instead, it turns these foes into bullet sponges if you're under-leveled, or pushovers if you're over-leveled. To the point where a ton of players missed a cool visual thing during one of the final bosses because it happens after hacking them 4 times and they kill over in 2 if you did the side content on your way to the battle. It's also not like there's a narrative reason for this system. If anything, it causes lack of cohesion between story and mechanics. The experience carries over between characters, so by the time you play as 9S, you know, this twink, he is much more stronger than 2B was at that point in the story, despite being a little support bitch boy while she's a warrior. It also works against the narrative point of memory uploads. At the very beginning, there's this small scene where 9S doesn't recognize 2B because he didn't upload his mind in time, so he effectively never met her. And she's visibly shaken by that fact, and I don't know, man, you seem pretty experienced for someone who just forgot their first combat mission. So, why is this even here? Well, in interviews, Yoko Taro and Yosuke Saito said that they didn't want to alienate fans of previous games in the series that were primarily action RPGs. That's fair, but you already put in a progression system with the chips. You even included chips that automate game features for easy mode. Just leave the side quests and exploration. It's not like you have any input over how your stats grow with the XP gain, so just leave it by the wayside. It's completely pointless, arbitrary, and makes the game less enjoyable. It's honestly difficult for me to shit on Automata this much because I love this game dearly. Hell, I love all the games I listed as bad examples, but this love exists despite how they handle character progression, not because of it. There is room for improvement, space to either take these elements out or refine them to make a system that fits into the world of the game, both mechanically and narratively. This kind of cohesion between mechanics and narrative is one of the best things video games can do, and to say we need to choose between game or story is very short-sighted and distractive. To balance things out, the next video is gonna be about what I love about one of these games. It's Automata, it's Nier Automata. There are aspects of the story I haven't seen discussed that I want to cover, that's why I left it for the last. Stay tuned.